Prabhanjan J of Tamil Nadu and Bora Varun Chakravarti from Andhra Pradesh have topped the medical entrance exam with a perfect score of 720 out of 720. Needless to say, this is a highly competitive exam. This year, almost 21 lakh candidates had registered for NEET UG, and out of these, over 20 lakh took the medical entrance test and almost 11.5 lakh have qualified. The entrance test was held on the 7th of May, except in Manipur, where of course there has been a lot of disturbance of late. NEET is held at the national level for admission to medical, veterinary, Ayush, BSc, nursing and life science courses. Now that the results are out, what happens next? Post results, the counselling process for NEET 2023 is the next step. Those who clear the NEET cutoff declared by the NTA are eligible. The cutoff score is the minimum score required to clear NEET and then to participate in counselling and the admission process. On this show, we will discuss with our experts how you can prepare for this process in the days and weeks ahead. We will get our experts to answer your questions about the challenges and opportunities that lie ahead. Without wasting any time, let's go straight across to our panel of experts. We're joined on the show by Kapil Gupta, CEO of neetprep.com. We also have with us Jatin Chawla, Director and Counsellor at the Jatin Chawla Centre for Career Development. And completing the panel is Professor Vijay Lakshmi Singh, an educationist. A warm welcome to all three of you. Thank you for joining us. Kapil Gupta, let me start with you. You know, as I said, the much anticipated results are out. I am still trying to wrap my head around how those two students managed to get a perfect score of 720 on 720. Perhaps they qualify as geniuses, but jokes apart, what happens next? You know, there's a lot of stress and anxiety that stems from the exam itself. But fact of the matter is that the stress and the anxiety that the students or the candidates have to deal with does not end with the NEET exam results, you would agree. The process has only just begun. So for the benefit of our viewers, if you could put into perspective what happens next, how this entire process unfolds.
Thank you so much, Neha, for this opportunity. So first of all, results got announced yesterday. What has happened this year is that students were expecting much better ranks. Just to give you a perspective, at 700 score out of 720, which you can already think is fairly draconian in terms of how hard someone might have worked. Last year at 700 score, the All India rank was 50. This year on 700 score, the All India rank is 320. So a lot of students came out very happy on 7th May when the exam was conducted, that they had a great exam. They probably did not know that the paper was not that difficult. A lot of people had an easy exam. And what that has done is that at 700 score, which was considered safe for AIIMS Delhi, a lot of students are not going to get AIIMS Delhi. They are not going to get Maulana Azad. They are not going to get Safdarjung. They are not going to get UCMS as well. So that has left, if you will, a bad taste in the mouth of students who were anticipating for this result yesterday. What it has also done is the overall cutoff, the last seat at which you will get a college, has increased across board for all India quota as well as for state counselling by around 10 to 14 marks. So it has been a bittersweet day yesterday. You talked about two students who are getting 720. I'm sure they are celebrating, but those who were getting around 700, 705, who were very happy that AIIMS Delhi is guaranteed, which is the most coveted college, a lot of them are probably not going to end up getting it. It has been a bad day for a lot of students yesterday.
That is quite an eye-opener, Kapil Gupta. You know, while we were marveling at how the candidates managed to get these kind of scores, you are saying that it's actually been heartbreak for many who've actually scored above 700, because most of them are not going to make the cut at AIIMS or some of the other top medical institutes in Delhi and elsewhere.
700 is 97%.
Good Lord.
797%.
So after scoring, thank you for, giving me that figure, because I was always a very weak math student. So I wouldn't have been able to compute that 700 out of 720 means 97. But good Lord, I mean, after getting 97%, if you can't make it to one of the top colleges of your dreams, then yes, you're right. Unfortunately, it will be heartbreak for many, despite all their hard work and effort, despite, all the effort that they've put in. So what next? I think that is really the million-dollar question. I mean, for us lesser mortals, the biggest question while we were studying was, will we make it to one of the top colleges of Delhi University? Now imagine if you're a student today and you've appeared for NEET and you want to make it to AIIMS or some other top medical institute, even the score of 700 is not a safe score, says Kapil Gupta. That is 97%, ladies and gentlemen. So Jatin Chawla, what lies ahead for these students? Before we get into, the details of the counselling process and the admission process, just weigh in on what Kapil Gupta is saying. For me personally, it's an eye-opener, because I never sat for a medical entrance exam. He says even with a score of 97%, you will not be able to make the cut at any of India's top medical colleges, including AIIMS, and that would mean heartbreak for many, many students. How do you see that? I mean, was it an easy exam? Why is this getting tougher and tougher and tougher every year?
So I think NEET is the toughest exam. It is very, very competitive with so many lakhs of students applying and few seats available. So I think, of course, the government is also trying to do some work. So we have heard of seats increasing, and increasingly year after year, I see more seats increasing. But my point as a career counselor is that, look, maybe I don't get the topmost institute, but I mean, in daily walk of life, when we go and meet a doctor, I've seen excellent doctors coming from, say, KGMC or a UCMS, and not necessarily AIIMS. Of course, AIIMS is the most revered and respected. So some people had a dream of catching it. But if I look at a general mass of people, so it'll get distributed evenly. So this thing is, so get the best college of your choice. Look at options on an all India basis also. Research it thoroughly. Look at options of the state where you have a domicile, so that you can get some option. There are private institutions which are there. Of course, private institutions have a question of affordability also, but some private institutions have done an excellent job of training medical professions. So I would kind of expand my horizons, look at these options. Sometimes because if I'm domiciled in a certain state, so I have access to 85% of the quota. So I might get the top 3-4 institutions of that state, and I might still be, I would say, sailing well. And I will do online courses to boost myself up. I will go for amazing PG programs in India or outside India. I will somehow build up, because I'm interested in that field. I want to be a great doctor. I want to help out people, and that's it. I mean, you get what you get. That's it.
You get what you get. I understand what you're saying. It's certainly practical advice. You're saying that students will need to be pragmatic in their approach. But, one can understand the heartbreak that many are going to suffer when they realize that they will not be able to make it to the institutes of their choice. Of course, nobody is questioning the credentials of doctors who've graduated from colleges and institutes that do not rank amongst the top 10 or the top 20 or 25 in India. But at the end of the day, when you put in that kind of effort and you score above 700, you do want to fulfill your dream of making it to one of the top colleges. And it will be a case of so near, yet so far for so many of these students. Kapil Gupta, do you agree with Jatin Chawla that as heartbreaking as it may be, the students need to adopt a pragmatic approach? Take whatever you can get. At the end of the day, your success as a doctor, as a medical professional does not necessarily depend on the institute that you studied medicine at. Would you agree? What would your advice to students be,
I
those who
would
are in this category of Sonia yet so far?
I would 100% agree with my good friend Jatin. He's absolutely right. And look at it from this perspective. When you're joining an MBBS program, it is a generalist program. All the students who are joining in AIMS Delhi or AIMS Bhopal or KGMU or Manipal, all of them are going to go through the same curriculum set by National Medical Commission. The real game starts after you have finished 5-year MBBS, you write a PG exam, and then you are able to choose the specialization of your choice. If you don't work hard, the streams like anatomy, physiology, etc., which people don't want to do, you'll end up getting it. If you work hard, irrespective of which college you went into, you might get into cardiology or neurosurgery or dermatology or anesthesia or radiology. So, what Jatin is saying is, guys, when I go to doctors, I really don't see exactly what college he went to. Even if he has gone to a good government medical college, that's okay. And you're going to get a government medical college at
Yes.
600. You can get colleges at a lower score. For example, Maulana Azad would be available for students from Delhi domicile at a much lower score, around 685. It's not still not that low, but the point is there is no point worrying about it too much right now. Get into the government college which you are able to get into based on your score. If you're not able to get this year, one more year, it's not Kumbh Ka Mela, which would happen 12 years later. You get an opportunity again next year. If you're not able to afford a private medical college, go for it. The real game starts after 5 years of MBBS when you write your next exam or NEET PG exam, what branch you'll get.
That is great advice, actually. Professor Vijay Lakshmi Singh, welcome to the show. If I could bring you into the conversation. You know, Jatin Chawla and Kapil Gupta are, of course, making some excellent points. They're saying that, you know, when we go to a doctor, we don't necessarily look at which medical college that doctor had studied at, though we might want to look at their degrees, frankly. I know my dad does. But on a more serious note, Kapil also says, very interestingly and significantly, that the real game actually starts once you complete your MBBS at the end of those 5 years when you go in for specialization. So what would your advice be, ma'am, to students who've had a heartbreak, who will not be able to fulfill their dream of studying at one of the top medical colleges of India, let's say AIMS, because even though they worked hard and even though they may have scored 700 out of 720, it is simply not good enough?
Yeah, thanks Jatin and Mr. Kapil for good advice and good analysis for the students. I would say, I mean, I have personal experience with my son also. So I know that these competitive exams are really very competitive, and you aim at it, and many of them do not get it. So they should not get disheartened. As Mr. Kapil said, that the real game starts in PG courses. But there also, I do not think that one should get disheartened with the PG courses also. There are too many options there, I would say, because I do not want to demoralize the students because they didn't get good marks and they want to be doctors. At every step you can improve, whether it is MBBS or PG or post-PG, you know, even in practice. So once you get hold of any college, you should be very seriously doing your MBBS course, and thereafter, if you get into PG courses, and you should, you know, be indulged in what you are doing to make you a great doctor. So these marks initially, you know, it's very pinching that someone gets so high and others do not get it. But in the long run, when you go for competitive exams, you can see that even the student of AIMS do not qualify for many exams, wherein the students of private colleges also qualify for the exams. So one should not get disheartened. I know it's very competitive, and of course, hats off to those people who have got very high marks. But I would say that to those who have not got so high and getting admission anywhere, even not in government colleges, and they can afford to go to private colleges, because this is an era of privatization, and you cannot stop this, privatization of higher education. So in that case, your course is the same. It is all India course, and everyone is doing the same. So I think they should, once you get entry into the college, from the beginning, you should be very serious, because doctors are not only doing course, they have to handle many patients afterwards. And if they do it well and they do it seriously, they can, do wonders thereafter. So I suggest to all of them who have not even got good marks and getting hold of course in medical college, they should not be disheartened. They should go ahead. So I will voice for those who have got lesser marks than the ones who are toppers and are going to get into AIMS and other high brand medical colleges.
All right, that is great advice all around. Do not get disheartened. This is just the beginning of your long journey. Okay, let's now talk about the nuts and bolts of this entire process. If I could start with you, Jatin Chawla, explain to our viewers, those who are watching, those who've just cleared the NEET exam, what happens next. NEET counseling is obviously a very important step in this entire process. Correct me if I'm wrong, and if we could just have that graphic up on our screen so our viewers can understand what we're talking about. 3 rounds, including a mop-up round, are held by central universities. Counseling happens both online and offline. Online counseling requires filling up of electronic forms. Offline counseling takes place physically at many different venues. 1,000 rupees need to be deposited during the registration process, and there needs to be a 10,000 rupees security deposit as well. Now, if you could just take us through the entire process, Jatin Chawla, what happens next, as far as all these students who've cleared NEET and have qualified are concerned?
They will attend the counseling session. Now, there's this thing that all India quota, which is monitored by DGHS. Then there are seats in deemed and central university, again monitored by DGHS. Then there are state quota seat for domicile student, which is state central authority. And then private colleges throughout India, again state authority. In fact, JNK also is now AIQ, All India quota. So there might be people looking at specifically AFMC Pune as well as ESIC college. So for the insured people, so they will again fill up through the AIQ. Now, once you have targeted it, these are the colleges which I am looking at. Then you enter in. You might be allotted a college. You move on to second round. Again, you might get your college, your desired college in that order, or you move on to the third round, which is the mop-up round. So that is how you proceed step by step. Of course, there are reservations for SC, ST, OBC. So accordingly, you are granted admission. So that is how step by step you move and you build up.
Okay, Kapil Gupta, would you want to take us through the entire process? Explain to the students who are watching what happens next. What is it that they need to do?
So around 20 days from now, this counseling process will start. One point that has been mooted by National Medical Commission, which is the agency responsible for conducting these counseling processes, that there might be a common counseling process, which means Director General of Health Services might conduct counseling across the board, which does not mean the state quota go away. It's just that in previous years, what has happened is there is a lot of coordination required between all the states and the central agency, because All India quota and state quota counseling is happening simultaneously, and because of slight mismatches here and there, or some problem happened or some litigation happened at the state level, the whole calendar gets awry. So what they are trying to do is, they're not trying to take away the right of the states in terms of state quota, but what they're saying is, we will consider conducting all the counseling being conducted by a central agency, but that has still not been confirmed. But it is not a very difficult process. I don't think students should worry about it too much. They require two things. One, they need to know the sequence of the colleges they want to fill. So, for example, you might start with AIMS Delhi, then Maulana Azad, then UCMS, then RML, then NDMC, then BSA, whatever, or AIMS Upal, Rishikesh, whatever it is. And they have to participate twice. There are central colleges. If you talk about government colleges, all the AIMS, IMS, BHU, Aligarh, and JIPMER. For these counseling happens through Director General of Health Services under All India quota. And in other colleges, 15% of the seats would happen through All India quota and 85% happens through state quota. It's a fairly straightforward process, just that it takes 3 months. If you are a borderline student or if you do not have any chance of making it through this counseling process, for example, if you are general category and you are scoring 500 marks, you're not going to get a college anywhere in terms of government medical college. If you want a government medical college, your dad can't afford to go into a private medical college. It is better to start preparing for next year rather than hope that somehow some magic will happen and you're going to get a government medical college. This process is very transparent. It is very difficult to sneak in. So it is better that you know where you stand. If you're borderline, sure, go ahead and do counseling. But if you're far away, don't live in the false hope of getting a seat when there is none. And it's better to spend your time, because it's 3 months process. It's better to spend those 3 months preparing for the exam next year or exploring some other options.
Okay, again, sound advice, and thank you for that explainer that, certainly should help those who are trying to navigate their next few steps. Let me take this to Professor Vijay Lakshmi now. Professor Vijay Lakshmi, what would you say? Even though Kapil says this is a pretty straightforward process, the process of NEET counseling, but we've seen how much anxiety and stress students go through, not just while preparing for the exam, but after the results. What, according to you, are some of the challenges that the students are likely to face in this process of counseling? And also, your thoughts, ma'am, on this entire debate that we see on government colleges versus private colleges. Why is this such a big issue for students, for candidates?
First, I would like to answer the last question, government colleges versus private colleges. Though, as a teacher, as a social scientist, generally we perceive that government colleges are very good because they are supported by the government and they do social justice with the students, especially with the poor students. Those who cannot afford to pay higher price and they are very talented, they go through to government colleges. But many of the students who are still very poor and they do not fall in that category of merit to get into government colleges, for them it is a very high stress level. So I do not know what to suggest to them. Then I would say that they can try once more for the government colleges, as the panelists are suggesting. I'm not a medical expert, but of course I have a doctor in my house, my son, not in India, but I understand the agony these students go through while taking these exams, competitive exams, and especially the medical exams. So I would say that they can, of course, try twice, thrice, but after that, that is not the end of the world, I would say. Because we should advise them to have a meaningful course if they do not get into medical. Because even those who are trying for second time or third times, not all of them, as the panelists were also saying, will get into that. So I would talk about those who will not get into medical colleges. They should go opt for the, subject in the university. And those who have not done medical also have done brilliantly in life. So they should go for that, I would suggest. Secondly, about the stress level amongst the students who are facing this, the counseling, the exams, and the counseling. These students who are going to face the counseling, of course, all of them, whether the number 1 or number 100, those who are at number 100, they do not know where they are going to fall, because maybe the topper also may get, lower rank than the one who has lower rank to them. So this stress they have to manage. I mean, manage through stress management, and they are well versed in this because they have been, writing these competitive exams, and they know how much stress is there in preparing for these exams. So I'll appeal to all those students who are appearing for the NEET counseling, that they should, control their stamina or the stress and appear for the exams very confidently. And they should, I can only wish them the best. I cannot, I can just advise them not to get stressful. They should do yoga, they should do other kind of exercises, mind exercises, to keep them quiet and, prepare the exams. That much, that is what I can advise to them.
Okay, so yoga and perhaps meditation to keep anxiety and stress at bay, because remember, this is a very critical phase of your life. You don't want to get bogged down by anxiety, fear and stress. You want to be able to think and act with a clear head. Let me go back to Jatin Chawla at this point. Jatin Chawla, since we are focusing on the next steps of this process, counseling followed by admissions, if you could just explain to our viewers, especially those who do not understand what this involves, what is the domicile policy all about? What advantages and disadvantages do candidates end up having as a result of this domicile policy?
Again, it is state-wise. Like Delhi would say that you should have studied in 12th class. Yeah. Whereas a UP might say that you need to have a house and a government document like a ration card or a passport in an address of that state. You know. So I might be in Ghaziabad, Noida, wherever, but then I am eligible for UP. In fact, a lot of schools invite people like me to conduct workshop for students so that they don't move. Because after 10, there's a lot of movement to place like Delhi, because generally the quality of medical institutions as well as engineering colleges is better here. So, so if I have a domicile, so if I'm a resident of UP and I have a government document, say a passport or a ration card or whatever, I have I've been there. My house is there. Then I get 85% of the quota in that state, and of course I'm eligible for 15% of all India quota also. So when I am applying as a student, again I make a priority list that okay, if I get these five colleges here, I'm happy. Otherwise, I might look at all India quota. Though it depends. Maybe I'm a student with a 700, I will have more options. I'm a student with a 650, I might not have that great options, and my rankings might go down. I might not look at say top three. Again, depending on how many medical colleges the state has, how many seats are available for the students, and so on. So I have to make a play between all India quota and state quota and decide that, like, okay, if I get this one, maybe third rank institute here, I'm more happier here. Alternatively, if I get fifth rank institute, because this is also good, so state wise I'll go there. So I need to make those priorities clear and then approach the counseling process.
Okay, so I want to ask you a similar question, Kapil Gupta. I think most would agree that AIIMS is arguably the country's finest and premier medical institute, one that is highly coveted and that every aspiring medical student wants to study at. Explain the domicile policy to us, and do you believe it is a fair and legitimate policy? For example, if I have studied in Delhi all my life, does that make me eligible for admission to AIIMS with an even lower score compared to somebody who has studied in Karnataka or Madhya Pradesh? And this domicile policy, do you believe it's a good policy? Does it work to the advantage of students, or in your experience, does it actually cause more heartburn?
So Neha, first of all, domicile does not apply in central. Let me not say central. It does not apply in AIIMS. It does not apply in BHU. So first of all, there are a lot of seats in AIIMS. It's not only AIIMS Delhi. After that, there are 6 more AIIMS which came a little earlier, and now government has a lot of AIIMS beyond that. If I'm not wrong, there are around 20 AIMS in the country right now. There is no domicile which is applicable in AIMS. First of all, there is no domicile which is applicable in IMS BHU. So that is one thing. Second thing is, let's talk about a college like Maulana Azad. In Maulana Azad, a Delhi domicile person this year will get a college at around 686 to around 690. If you're not from Delhi, you are not going to get it below 705. So yes, there is a level of, if you will, if you are from Kerala, you wanted to study in Maulana Azad Medical College in Delhi, you would need to score above 705. Someone who stays in Delhi or who has rather a domicile of Delhi, he'll probably get in at 686. So yes, there is a level of unfairness there.
Very interesting. I think this is what I was trying to extract from you. But thanks for the clarification on AIMS. Like I said, never appeared for a medical entrance test. But Professor Vijay Lakshmi, would you agree? You know, Kapil says that there is a degree of, lack of fairness when it comes to the domicile policy, that, the place where you've completed your education seems to be a bigger deciding factor than your score, than all your hard work, and that does seem to cause a lot of heartburn among students. Would you agree? Because let's face it, the distribution of, the finest medical colleges in the country is obviously not even. You would agree. A city like Delhi, for example, is likely to have many more of these than, many other parts of the country.
True. Of course, there is little degree of unfairness if you think that way. But it has been there. The system has been there ever since we were students. So I do not know what to do with this system. But secondly, I would say that even in Delhi, we have very good schools and very good students, and the marks which all the students fetch in NEET, it is very close to one another. So it is luck also. So there has to be a system through which you settle the admissions in the colleges. So this was created as a system. I mean, we can rethink about this change of the system, and these are experts of medical institutions, and they can suggest some. But it is there in Delhi University also, or everywhere, in the professional colleges, this domicile privilege. So, of course, I mean, there are students in different states who are very bright, very brilliant, and they also want to come and have their education in the best of the colleges of India, especially in Delhi, because it is a metropolitan center and also capital city. So everyone wants to be here in AIMS or any of these Delhi Maulana Azad or any of these Delhi colleges. But since there is no way out, we have to stick to this, and this is a debate which can we can start about this domicile and versus merit later. But now that it is there, the students will get admission according to the rules of domicile and non-domicile.
Okay. Of course, you're right in saying that there is no getting around it. Whether you agree with it or disagree with it, the policy is here to stay. So you really have to make your peace with it and make the most of whatever is available to you, the options that are available to you. Let me now touch upon another subject here, starting with you, Jatin Chawla. Obviously, NEET is a very, very competitive exam. Even though times have changed, there are many other modern career options, so to speak, nowadays, but still the medical profession continues to be one of the most coveted. You still have lakhs and lakhs of aspirants around the country who want to don the white coat, who want to end up as doctors and medical practitioners. Scores of parents and families around the country still want that for their children. But as we know that, the numbers are just too many and not enough seats to cater to those numbers, right? In the last many years, we've seen a mushrooming of private colleges, many of which have also been accused of profiteering at the expense of a lot of these desperate students and their families. How do you view this, phenomenon of the mushrooming of private colleges that we see all over the country? Is that a good thing that's happened, or do you believe that it actually has more disadvantages than advantages? Because there are cases where a student ends up paying lakhs and lakhs of rupees to get a seat in a college that frankly nobody's heard of, and in the real world, that degree has very, very little significance or value.
So there are two parts to it. I will address it in two ways. First is career options. Generally, people don't know about career options. There's very little research done, even like by schools or institutions where they are. So there's a mad rush towards one career option, and honestly, it is not the best career option. Why? Because because people don't know. So people feel it is the best, but
isn't that a bad advertisement?
That is,
On a lighter note, Jatin Chawla, isn't that a bad advertisement for the Jatin Chawla Center for Career Development?
so I have helped people. I'll tell you where people should go and how they can still wear a white coat. I've helped umpteen number of people who are vying for MBBS to get into psychology. You look at depression cases happening, relationship counseling, schools, how many counselors are needed, even places like Kota, which are like coaching industry infested, I would say. So there are, the government is hiring counselors. Delhi government has a couple of hundreds of counselors visiting schools. Special educators are being hired. There are schools where there are like six counselors working. Any hospital you go, a small nursing home, today you'll have a psychologist who's visiting there. There are specialized people, like not in India but outside, who are sleep disorder experts. Of course, when I look at bioinformatics as a career option. Bioinformatics is analytics being applied to the field of bio. How you can predict in the next 5 years how many cancer cases will be there. Second, areas like bio plus management. Of course, largely available outside, but in India also I can go for such combinations. One or two private institutes are doing. But if you look at UCL London, so bio plus management, bio entrepreneurship. Why? In the last 4 years, hundreds of medical startups in India. Check out companies like Beato. So Beato uses mobile technologies to help people with diabetes. So there also the fundamental thing of you helping people get better is being acknowledged, is being done. Career options like health informatics, career options like computer-aided drugs design, or I can just move away from bio and do whatever. Initially you took science, so everyone said, beta science karne se sare career option khule hote hain. But then why are we not looking at khula hua options? So that is the first thing. Second thing, the second question you said, profiteering by private institutions. So yes, in fact, the pricing has increased so much that I have n number of parents asking us, is it even like, is it good? Will it pay us back if you're putting in 25 lakh, 30 lakhs per annum? That's a huge sum of money. So there are again two things. One, we might look at options abroad. There are countries. Check out Charles University at Prague. Approximate expenses, tuition fees are about 13.5 lakh per annum. It was established in 1324. Lot of reputation. It is not just any university. It's a government university. Universities in Poland, Georgia. If you cannot afford colleges in, let's say, UK or other countries, so these are the places to go in for. Of course, there have been some ifs and buts, particularly Ukraine when the war happened. But still, there are umpteen opportunities across the world. Another option is, I might prepare again. Third option is, I may take up a BSc bio, and then subsequently I look at areas like bioinformatics, biotechnology, computer-aided drug design, which I said earlier, or I may do a switch. I work with a pharma company. I build up. I do pharmacy. I do masters. I come out with medicines which helps millions of people around the world. So the opportunities are endless. Only thing is we have to open up our minds.
You have to open your mind and horizon. I think that's very well put, Jatin Chawla. That's very well put. I'm glad that you've rattled off, all those options that actually exist. And like you said, you can still don the white coat without actually being a doctor. You don't need to narrow your vision to just that one thing. That certainly is well put. So let me go back to Kapil Gupta at this point. Kapil Gupta, a couple of questions for you. Number one, how do you see the phenomenon of private colleges mushrooming all over the country? Of Of course, Manipal is an eminent exception, most would agree. But yet, then there are also those institutes that have been accused of just profiteering from the desperation of students and their families, some of whom have to shell out 30 lakh, 40 lakh, 50 lakh for a degree that frankly has little or no value in the job market. Is that one of the factors that is driving a lot of these students abroad? As Jatin Chawla says, you know, is it better to go to a C grade, D grade medical college in some remote part of India that nobody's ever heard of and shell out 30, 40, 50 lakh? Instead of doing that, is it better to go abroad? But then even when you look at the options abroad, you know, there are situations such as the one in Ukraine, where those poor students ended up being trapped in a war situation, and when they returned home, they realized that it was difficult or virtually impossible for them to even find internship opportunities or to have any takers for their degrees here in India.
So two things, Neha. First of all, with respect to government medical colleges, a few facts I'll lay down on the table. When the current government came into power in 2014, India had 30,000 government medical college seats. They have done some phenomenal work. It doesn't get votes, so they don't make a lot of noise about it. From that point onwards, in 9 years, we have gone to, this year we will be at 60,000 government medical college seats. So they have done a phenomenal work. From 1947 to 2014, we had 30,000 seats. From 2014 to 2023, we are going to be at 60,000 seats this year. So that is a phenomenal jump. In fact, we are already at 1:1,000 doctor to population ratio, which is prescribed by WHO, and a lot of people, a lot of doctors in the doctor community say that we are creating a situation where there might be an overcapacity of doctors. But what happens is there are a lot of doctors in metros, there aren't a lot of doctors in rural areas. So that distribution has to happen in a diversely distributed country like India. So government is still putting out a lot more government college seats. The second thing is private medical college business is tough from the perspective that earlier people used to make money out of under the table stuff. That has gone away largely with NEET exam. And what is also happening is there is going to be a national exit exam which would be compulsory for everyone, from government medical college to private medical college to anyone returning from abroad. As soon as that happens, the whole logic of sending your kid to a private medical college, which is not that great in India, versus sending him to, for example, Russia or Kyrgyzstan or Georgia, that would just open up. So right now, people are going to private medical college so that they don't have to write an exam to be able to practice in India. You don't have to do it today. If anyone is coming from abroad, they have to write what they call foreign medical graduate exam. That thing will go away with next exam, and private medical colleges in India would struggle, because what they're offering for 85, 90 lakh rupees for a 5-year program is available in Russia for 25 to 30 lakhs. So all these dynamics are going on right now. But government medical college seat scenario is phenomenal compared to 2014. And this government has done an extraordinary job. 1947 to 2014, we developed 30,000 seats. 2014 to 2023, another 30,000 seats, which I think is absolutely phenomenal.
We've come a long way, but I'm sure you'll agree we still have a long way to go. And yes, private colleges certainly need to clean up their act, because by overcharging students, in many cases, they may actually be losing prospective students to universities abroad. So what really is the way ahead for these medical aspirants, especially those who are not going to be able to make it to the top colleges of India? Well, our experts say, do not lose heart, do not lose hope. You still have plenty of options and opportunities ahead of you. You just need to widen your horizons, keep an open mind. There are many, many possibilities that still await you. On that note, I'd like to thank all our guests for joining us on the show and sharing their perspectives with us and addressing some of the frequently asked questions on this issue. And thanks to the viewers for watching. And here's also wishing all those medical aspirants out there the very best with their future.
टाइम बदला मेरा लाया नया दौर में, एग्जॉस्ट चले गाड़ियों का लाउड सुनूं शोर में, टूटी हुई छत से कभी पानी बहा करता था, आज मून रूफ खोल के सिटी में करूं रोर में। माँ भी मेरी शौक जितने सारे पूरे कर रही है, मेन स्ट्रीम में आया कैसे हिट रोकी चल रही है, कोई पापा से जो पूछे कहते बेटा सोना लिखता है। अब इससे प्राउड ही मैं फील करूँ, ड्योर पहनूं पैरों में करोड़ों की मैं डील करूँ, सूखी रोटी खाने वाले कहाँ पहुँच गए कि 5 स्टार में बैठा ऑर्डर में मैगी मील करूँ।
If you actually, decode the meaning of rap, which is rhythm and poetry, rhythm and poetry has been existing in our culture for like so many years. It was just not called rap before. I believe a lot of kingdoms, a lot of Maharajas used to have this thing called Hasya Kavi Sammelan, which is like, or even the form of Qawwali. A group of musicians used to battle it out with other musicians, and they used to do their own lyrics. I mean, like own freestyle lyrics at the same point of time. So at that point of time, it is